First of all, thanks for coming. We have over 270 wrestling people, family. Everybody stand up and applaud each other, but you came so far. Someone from California. It's a big respect for all the Hall of Famers to have such a following group. We never had so many. We had 300 one time, but this is a great turnout, especially on a Sunday afternoon. You gave up your time. This time I'd like to introduce Joel Greenlee, the head coach of wrestling at Ohio University. Joel?
Thank you. All right, good afternoon, everyone. I don't know if that works that good or not, but it's with great pride and excitement that I welcome you all here today to the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Ohio Chapter Banquet. I'd like to thank everyone for being here, for their attendance and their support in this outstanding event. This afternoon is a very special afternoon, I think. It's about the inductees we have here. It's their night. I'd like to be the first to welcome and congratulate them in their induction into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Ohio Chapter. All of our inductees tonight have done some groundbreaking, inspiring things, made a difference in young people's lives. They're nominated by their peers as elite people in their chosen field. They have set a new standard for excellence for other coaches and supporters of their programs that other people have to strive to live up to. Ohio, the state of Ohio has an amazing wrestling history in the state. This Ohio Wrestling Chapter has an obligation to honor that history, and that's what we're doing here today. So excited for these inductees, their special day, Ohio Wrestling Day in the state of Ohio. Congratulations.
In 2009, I met with Mr. Black, and he was a chapter representative from Michigan, that school up north. And we met at a hotel on the west side of town here in Dublin. And thought, boy, it'd be great for the state of Ohio to have a chapter for Ohio wrestling. So my friend Bobby Douglas, myself, and Mr. Black started this. Here it is, 2024. It's a great honor to have this continue, and I hope it keeps continuing. It wouldn't work without a committee, and I'd like to introduce, and would you stand up if you're a part of this committee? Ray Anthony. Please stand up. Andy Vizzola, please stand up, Ray. Joe Greenlee, Zach Allen. Zach. Steve Kish. Myself, Gordy Longshaw. Robin Mayfield. And what I learned, you know, wrestlers have good ideas and good intentions, but there's always going to be a female to organize things. Make sure that there are tablecloth and programs and proper name, proper step in the procedure of having an event like this. And that's Stephanie Mendelson. Once we get served, we'll have somebody approach your table, and to the right is the buffet line, or to the left, I'm sorry. At this time, who we have? Steve Kiss will do the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordy. Last year I memorized my presentation. I tried to do it again. First of all, I'm doing the invocation. Watch this ceiling doesn't start to waver a little bit. You could have a problem with the ceiling with me doing a prayer. Also, thank you for somebody laughed. Thank you so much. Also, last year I sold shirts. We don't have the shirts, but if you want to donate to the Steve Kish Not Memorial Fund, gambling fund, it would be appreciated. Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this opportunity to honor these persons who have meant so much to our great, great sport in the state of Ohio. We are so proud of our state. I believe we're the #1 state in the union for wrestling. I don't care if someone disagrees. I think that. And we do appreciate all you've done and all the family and friends that are here, and those who aren't with us, that they're looking down on us at this time. We ask this, and we also pray that we have a safe trip home, and that you bless our food. In your name we ask this. Amen. Don't forget that fund.
I'm going to say the pledge, please. Help me out. Pledge allegiance. Stand, please.
Everyone stand, please. Flag to the right.
Okay. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And if I can, I'm going to draw the ticket for the winning.
Got any kids?
Stephanie. That's Stephanie. Steer that up.
How about you stir this? You got a little one? Thank you. Where at, Stephanie?
We collected $600. We're going to split $300 for the Hall of Fame and $300 for the lucky winner. And if it's a wrestler, we'll probably ask you to donate it back. Just kidding. Okay, if you'll take out your tickets. The winning ticket number is 203548. 203548. Come on up, bring your ticket, please.
Same winner as last year. Darn it.
Also, you do need your dinner ticket when you come up to get your food, please. Your dinner ticket. Thank you. We're going to get started.
3 years, but the average career is 2.97.
Please grab your seats. Again, I'd like to welcome everybody to our banquet this year. It's a true honor and pleasure to be a part of this committee, and I want to congratulate our recipients. It's just phenomenal, the people in the state of Ohio that have been put into this Hall of Fame, and we have many more to do. We got a lot of work to do out there. On your tables are applications. If you know somebody we should be considering, please get the paperwork done and get it into us. Okay, that's how we get you leads, and then that's how we pick our 8 people here to put in. Before we get started, tell you what I'd like to do. Stephanie, come here for a minute, please. Stephanie does so much work for this committee. You got all of us guys and her, and I do want to thank my wife too, because my wife does help Stephanie, but Stephanie is really the backbone of this committee to put everything together with all the tickets, and we give her gray hair, and you guys do too. So just a little trinket from the committee to her for all of her dedication to the Ohio Chapter of the National Hall of Fame. At this time, I'd like to introduce Tom Evans. Tom Evans and I go way back. I'm not going to talk about the lights in Columbia Gym. He gets upset because he thought he was a math major, and every time he was on his back, he was counting lights. We're going to leave that go, though. But Tom's a graduate of Cuyahoga Heights High School. He just retired as superintendent of the school he went to school at. Tom's a long life friend and love of the rest of the wrestling community. And he helps anybody out sectional tournaments, district tournaments, DCIT tournament. He's always there to help the family of wrestling. And graciously, he's offered to be our MC again tonight. Tommy Evans.
Thank you, thank you, Ray. Robin Rayfield and Dick Hitch. What do I do? Hit the button?
You don't need a microphone.
I know I don't need a microphone. Yeah. I'm a superintendent. I'm looking for my tech director. Dick Kish and Robin Rayfield remind me that superintendents don't retire, you go into recovery. So I'm a recovering superintendent. And there's 14 lights in Columbia Station's gym, and last week was the rotation. I was on my back that many times in that gym. So I first of all want to thank the committee for continuing to host this on a Sunday afternoon. I was a season ticket holder for the Browns for many, many years, and this saves me the agony of having to watch a terrible football team. I will tell you that tonight's inductees, I don't want to hear anything from the young coaches in the audience about coaching burnout. Tonight's inductees, the 8 inductees, have over 400 years of coaching. And no, 350 of that is not Domenick Iammarino. I'm going to start off tonight. Our first inductee is Paul Bukky. Paul is a 1968 graduate of Ashland University, where he was team captain, along with being a 4-time national qualifier. He participated in Olympic trials in 1968 and 72, and was a national freestyle champion. Paul taught social studies, special education, and vocational education for 36 years. He began his coaching career at Fields High School. That's in the Ohio reformatory system, so some of you guys think you got a tough go of it. Nobody was looking for matches with Paul's team back then. And then he moved to Vermillion High School for 8 years, on to St. Francis de Sales for a year, then 13 years each at Thomas Worthington and Worthington Kilgore, and he spent the last 18 years at Columbus Academy. He's coached wrestling in Ohio for 54 years. He has coached teams that have won 12 sectional championships, 5 district runner-up, 9 district championships. Paul has been named Coach of the Year by the OCC, the Central District, as a member of the Lorraine County Wrestling Hall of Fame. He's been active in coaching Ohio's Junior National and Cadet National training camps and hosted various collegiate and freestyle events and tournaments. He organized and operated Field House Wrestling Club for athletes in and around the Columbus area. In his spare time, Paul has also officiated in the Big Ten, the MAC, OAC, high school, freestyle, and Greco, and has worked as an official timer for Divisions 1, 2, and 3 national tournaments. Paul is married to Sherry and has daughters Becky and son Steve. It is my honor to present for induction into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Ohio chapter, Paul Bukky.
Okay, I only have 25 minutes, so I have to get this in. I'm going to start with something a little bit different because it kind of summarizes my coaching career. I thought the ultimate achievement in wrestling was to win a state championship. It is not. The ultimate achievement in wrestling is to prepare a young man or woman for his or her life and become the best person they can possibly become by acquiring the qualities of a champion and a wrestler. Acquiring these qualities are more important than winning state championships. They are what is needed to be happy and successful in life. In the pursuit of that, a kid transcends into a man or a woman. It is in the pursuit that a kid begins to prepare for what life will bombard with him or her with when they become a man or a woman. It is in the pursuit of this sport that it's its finest. Winning a state championship doesn't teach things. The pursuit does. And setting a goal that's more important than you could ever achieve and achieving more than you ever thought you could is important. It's overcoming any and all obstacles that may be in your path in the pursuit of a goal. It is the agony of learning how to figure it out on your own. That's what most wrestlers do. It's making necessary adjustments even after you've figured it out. The hard adjustments, which will require supreme sacrifice, that will only make a small difference, which will happen to be the difference between winning and losing. It is working endlessly and seeing no results and still continuing to work because your will is stronger than everyone else's doubt. It's learning that one man with belief is worth 1,000 with just an interest. It's failing miserably and very publicly in front of your peers and everyone who's important to you. It is learning to master the concept of again, the ability to muster up just a little more courage when the world would understand if you quit. It's achieving your most desired goal after a long, hard season, one in which you bled so or to do so, and making the personal decision to work even harder for another season with absolutely no guarantee of success. It is knowing that you did everything that you could to achieve your goal and the understanding that sometimes it won't be enough. Sometimes it won't work. You can't control that. All you can control is how well you prepare. And so it is in life. It is the understanding that when it magically enough happens, you are humbled because you know the other side of the win. We all know what it's like to win, and we all know what it's like to lose. You know, it's like the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And when it's not enough, you know to dig down and inspect and analyze your performance because there's something within the loss that you need to learn to help you achieve greater goal in the future. And you find it. And you turn your weakness into strength. And you keep doing that until you have no more weaknesses. That is the process of becoming a man or a woman. Some wrestlers went on to win a state championship, now are jerks. Many wrestlers who took second, third, or never even placed in the state are great people. So it's not the winning the state championship that is the difference. It is what you take away from this great sport that is the difference. It is in the pursuit. If one's idea of achievement is to win a state championship, then logically there can only be one winner per weight class throughout the state. There's not. There are many winners. Because the real winners in this sport are the wrestlers, those who acquire the traits which will be necessary for their success and happiness in life. And those traits can all be found in the pursuit. Now, I don't know if you caught all that, okay, it's kind of lengthy, but last night we had a gathering, and I was at another place, and there were a bunch of my old wrestlers there, and it was just like an awesome thing. But the thing that I got out of it the most was that obviously for them, because I looked at each guy and I thought, oh my gosh, these guys are so successful, doctors, lawyers, whatever, it doesn't matter. They're successful in their lives. They're the kind of people that you look up to, you want your kids to look up to. They're people that will give you the shirt off their back. They're just, it's just such an amazing thing. And in my 54 years of coaching, it would have been 56, but I had to take a rest for a couple of years. It just seemed to me that it was just so amazing to see these individuals and how they've grown, what they've become. That is the greatest honor that anybody can have as a coach. It's not, certainly I love to win state championships. Certainly I love to win. But there's just so many things that encompass that. There's so many things that people bring to the table, bring to your life, and it's beautiful. And I thank you for this award, and I commend the men who have received it. Thank you.
Our next recipient is Jim Hewitt. I've only ever known him as Huey, so when I started doing the research on it, I said, wow, he's really got a first and last name as this goes too. Jim competed for 4 years at Ball State before enrolling in the Marine Corps, where he continued his wrestling career. Jim has coached at Medina High School on 2 different occasions, Brunswick High School, also coached at Cuyahoga Community College when they were national junior college runners-up and champions. He then moved on to St. Ignatius and has spent the last 10 years at Medina Bukky. This past season was Jim's 49th as a coach. At 82 years old, Jim plans on returning to Bukky and coach next season. One of Jim's greatest accomplishments was coaching Team Sampson during the summers. He coached the likes of Dean Heil, Dustin Kilgore, Mike Miller, Chris Phillips, Boomer Fetchko, Richie Speisel, and Alex Stepanovich, to name a few. Those teams placed in the top 3 at the Disney Duels numerous times and won 2 championships there, and also have numerous sordid stories from their time down there. There was a common thing among the nomination letters for Jim. Jim didn't coach wrestlers on the mat, he coached them for life and what it means to be a better person. One letter stated that Jim Hewitt is wrestling. Jim is married to Susan and the father of Jim Jr., John, Elizabeth, and Mike. It's my honor to present for induction into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Ohio chapter, Jim Hewitt.
I'm a short guy, so I got to pull this down a little bit. I really want to start out by thanking Ray Anthony, Tom Evans, Joel Greenlee, and the board members that, made it possible for me to receive this award. It's the biggest thing going, I want to congratulate all the other guys that are in here now that are receiving this award just like me. I was here 2 years ago, and I was sitting at a table back in the back there, and I was here as a guest of Joe Drago when he was inducted. And as I'm sitting there and listening to guys like, that Paul that just talked and everybody else, and see all the big crowd and everybody mingling around and realize what's going on, you realize real quick just exactly what this award means and how prestigious it is. And, it's, something to be, really thankful for in that. Well, I went home that night, and I'm sitting there thinking, wonder what it would be like if something like that would ever happen to me. And then it kind of just went about my business and all that. And then about a month ago, I'm sitting I'm just coming home from practice. And I get into the house and sit down in my easy chair, put my feet up, and of course, what happens then, your feet go up, your eyelids go closed, and you start dozing off. And as I was dozing off, all of a sudden, my wife comes in from the other room, and she taps me on the shoulder, and I'm sitting there and I go, oh, what do you need, And she goes, she had a piece of paper in her hand, and she sat there and handed it to me, and she says, I think you might want to read this. Well, I picked it up, and sure enough, here it is, National Wrestling Hall of Fame and Museum. And I thought, oh, this is important. And so it was really something special, because as I read down, all of a sudden I found out that, I was nominated, and then later on it says, not only was I nominated, I ended up being picked to receive this award. Honest to God, I almost fell out of my chair, because I never expected this to happen. And, it was just, I thought, wow, it is true, and it was very, very special. And, I really, want to thank everybody that was involved in that, because I know there was a lot of people that, were behind this. And it means a whole lot. Tom already went over, some of the places I've coached, you know, and that, well, you forgot Brunswick, and he forgot Elyria. I was there too, but that's all right. That's all right. Our biggest, you know, as a coach, you sit there and you get a chance to work with just tremendous kids, and as you're coaching them, just like you said, like Bukky said, you know, you want to teach kids. You want to teach them about life. You want to teach them about what everything is all about. You know, wrestling is, you know, a big time, you know, character builder, for sure. So as I'm going and coaching in these different spots, you know, when I was at Community College, I was an assistant with Joe Drago. You know, and, I mean, we had great success there, great success. Out of the years that we were there, we never finished out of the top 5 in the nation. And, you know, it was good. We have good kids. I got a text last night from one of the kids that was on a team from Coward Community College about congratulating me. And so when 1998, Joe and myself and Kenny DeAngelo's back here, who was another great coach, we formed Samson's. We had Samson's for 16 years, okay? At which time, you know, we had great success. And it was because we kept kids all the time. We practiced all year round, and we kept them all year round. When they came in young and left when they went to college. So it was a good situation. You know, we won several national championships, and we were runner-up several times. And it was just a great experience, you know. Well, through all that and through all the other places I've been, you know, I've had a tremendous chance to work with some of the very best kids, some of the just average kids, you know, hoping that they're going to step up with the rest of the guys. And a lot of them were, you know, state qualifiers, state placers, some state champs, some multiple state champs. You know, but it was very, very, very good. And, you know, like I said, we were like a family. I mean, we were together all the time, all year round. And it was, you know, everybody looked out for everybody because that's what wrestlers do. And, you know, we sit there and you have kids from other schools meeting with, you know, kids, you know, that aren't from their school and everything else, forming a bond that's second to none. I can remember Coach Greenlee here in a lot of tournaments we were at. Here he is, and I'm sitting there, I talk to him quite a bit, you know, and all that. And he's scouting, he's doing recruiting and stuff like that. It was great. It was great. It was nice to know that he's there looking at some of my kids. And, you know, you can't ask for more than that. You just got to hope that you can get your kid on. You know, I can sit here all day long and name pretty much most of the kids I've had a chance to coach and be with. You know, some of the ones that I have are in the back here. You know, I got some of my boys back here, just like Shawn does. Shawn Nelson, you know, I mean, here he is. I've known Shawn forever. I coached freestyle with Shawn in, you know, when we were in the summertime. And, you know, I know what he's been doing too, so. But if I'm naming people in that, Alex is Dean House sitting back here. He's a very big part of us. My son Michael, my grandson Luke, Matt Yinger, who was coaching over at Nelsonville again, and then Boomer Pretko, who's a Lake Erie head coach. You know, I mean, a lot of guys. Dave Mnuchin, Logan Kravatis, some other Buckeye kids. You know, I mean, you can go on and on and on, but I've only got a little bit of time. So, but it's been a great ride for me. It's like a dream come true because I've had a chance to see kids succeed. The bottom line is, how much do they succeed? and how much you care for them, and how much do they realize you care for them. Coaches, I've had great coaches. Joe Drago, and me, and Kenny back there, we've been together for 4 decades. They're my best friends, you know, and, you know, it's great being around them. But I really want to thank also the coaching staff that I'm on right now at Bukky, because we've had great success there. And the guys that I coach with are second to none. Head coach Mike Tecco, Steve Rapanovic, Steve Bartos, Nick Nutter, he's back there, and John Daglish. You know, they're not just coworkers, they're not just coaches, they're dear friends. And we all believe in the same stuff. And I really believe in what we're doing there. And, you know, like I said, I really want to thank all the board and everybody for this award for me and the other guys, because everybody that's in this room deserves it, or they wouldn't be here. I mean, that's the way it is. So I thank you very, very much, and thank you all, that's everybody that's here, because it's supporting exactly what we wanted to support.
Jim, I got a little word when you were telling a story about falling asleep in the chair in the living room. I thought you were going to tell me you woke up and Nick Nutter was standing in front of you, but it'd be too much for the heart. Our next inductee is Larry Hoon. Larry Hoon is a graduate of Twinsburg High School and a charter member of their Hall of Fame. Larry was all-conference and a team captain for football, wrestling, and baseball in high school. Larry moved on to Baldwin Walls, where he wrestled for 4 years and was team captain and conference champ. Larry went on to coach at Cleveland Heights High School for 38 years. He was the head wrestling coach for 35. His team won 304 dual meets, 7 conference championships, 2 sectional championships, and were AAA state champs in 1976. And I verified this before. Larry did it with 3 state qualifiers. Won a state title in 76. Not 13, not 10, 3 state qualifiers. Larry served as treasurer for the Greater Cleveland Wrestling Coaches and Officials Association for 10 years and coached the Greater Cleveland All-Star Meet on 4 occasions and was their coach in 1976. Larry initiated the handshake after matches and was the first team in the Cleveland area to wear singlets. And Larry also was one of the very first coaches that I can remember that had girls on the wrestling team. He was on the forefront of women's wrestling. He took the lead on that. Larry is a 2004 Ohio High School Wrestling Coaches Association Hall of Fame member and a 2013 inductee into the Cleveland Heights Hall of Fame. You knew Cleveland Heights was around when you saw those gold shirts with the handlebar mustache on it that said Hoon's Platoon. They wore them probably everywhere. If by chance you listen to the Kelsey Brothers podcast, Larry is mentioned quite frequently in their podcast because he was their freshman football coach. Larry assured me that he can get Taylor Swift's autograph for anybody that wants it. Larry has been married to Rhonda for 45 years and has children, Adam, Alan, Erica, along with 7 grandchildren. It's an honor for me to present for induction into the National Hall of Fame, Ohio Chapter, Larry Hoon.
Well, we better fact check that. 51 years married.
Sorry, Rhonda.
I remember a story written by someone here in Columbus asking Mrs. Woody Hayes, have you ever considered divorce? Because this guy's never home, he's somewhere other than where he needs to be. And she said, divorce, never. Murder, yes. And I would think that sometime that might have crossed her mind. I want to thank Mark Matavino. I'm sure he can hear the echoes of your applause. Mark was a wrestler at Purdue, runner-up national champion, coached here with Casey Fredericks at Ohio State, and was the athletic director at Cleveland Heights. And I have him to thank for getting the job. His attitude was the next man up, promote from within. And I never forgot that, how important that is if you want to build rapport with your staff. I want to thank BW for preparing me, the Greater Cleveland Coaches Association for entrusting me with your funds, and for all those responsible for selecting me for this award. And to all my Tigers who made the trip here today. You notice I quickly took off the hat. It hides the hair I do not have, which is in your programming. I did look like that once. Well, at Cleveland Heights, we did things a little differently. We practiced in the morning. We wore singlets as a team, long before other teams did. We swam for conditioning. We lifted weights before it was fashionable. We had a team overnight prior to the first practice, so we could say that at the stroke of midnight, we were the first ones to practice in Ohio. We wrestled in the snow and did community services projects to expand their worldview, because there are some things that are more important than wrestling. A couple I wanted to identify that we may have been responsible for. The handshake ritual that is adopted by just about everybody. A young man named Carl Reed on the team talked Rhonda and I to driving 500 miles in a Datsun with 3 adolescents to go to Montreal to watch wrestling. There we saw the international ritual of shaking the official's hand, shaking the opponent coach's hand. When we witnessed that at the highest level of competition, we thought that bringing that ritual to high school wrestling would be a good idea. Women's wrestling. In 1997, a young lady who had been a statistician for 3 years, Tina George, had had enough of being a stat and wanted to try this sport. She had a very rough go of it, but she was certainly a willing competitor. I had a very loyal assistant, Kip Flanagan, who went off to East Tech on his own to become a head coach, and there he found a young lady named Takara Montgomery, who ended up being on the first women's Olympic team, and that went to Greece. I think it was in '96. 5 young ladies came out for our team in 2005. There was a lot of resistance to this initially, and I sort of understand it, but today we're just scratching our heads saying, what is the big deal? For all the reasons I want our sons to wrestle, why would I not want the same from our daughter if that's what she wanted to do? And that was the driving force in everything I did. If it was good for the guys, why wouldn't it be good for the girls? We had an alcohol and drug policy where the young men and women had to give a verbal pledge not to use during the season. Most people just sign a little paper and turn it in and say, I'm not going to do that, and go on about their business. We tried to take this very seriously. We wanted them to look way down the road. At the end of the year, we got together, had a little team meeting, and talked about, were we true to our commitment? and they're the word commitment, which seems to get lost in college sports these days, becomes very important. I'm most proud, as Paul Bukky would say, I'm most proud about how they turned out, how the wrestlers turned out. While worrying about making weight, wins and losses, what was really important was what kind of friend, what kind of teammate, father, mother, citizen, or in fact, coach each is today. And that wrestling at Cleveland Heights in some way contributed to the people they have become. Advice to young coaches and old coaches too. Let's encourage multi-sport participation and not get so arrogant to think that we have all the answers to all the problems that are in kids' lives right now. I like Luke Fickle, who was a probably maybe 4-time state champ here in Columbus, and went on to a very successful college coaching career at Wisconsin. On the back of his shirt, he has the acronym TEAM. Together, everyone achieves more. That makes a whole lot of sense, because we all have to pull together to get this done, and it can't just get done on a wrestling mat. Before the portal and NIL sucks us all in to nothingness, can we all do our part to try to save amateur sports and get that back to some of these principles that we had talked about? Finally, from that source of wisdom that we all look at, Facebook, I found someone putting this out. If you want to stay in coaching, you had better find a significant other that embraces your profession and views wrestlers as family. The spouse makes the coach. With that being said, the next round of applause should be for my wife, Rhonda, who has put up with all this for many years. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Domenick Iammarino. Domenick wrestled the senior season. Go ahead, let's clap for Dom. Where are you at? Domenick wrestled the senior season at Collinwood and went on to wrestle 4 years at Kent State University, where he lettered for 3 years and was co-captain in 1960 and 61. Domenick has spent 60 years as a wrestling coach, 38 as a head high school coach, 1 year as an assistant coach at John Carroll, and is still coaching today. His good friend Chuck Garofola wrangled him into coaching middle school cross country and middle school wrestling. Domenick can still be found in the wrestling room. He also spent 10 years as a baseball coach. His teams have 12 state top 10 finishes, 7 top 5. Domenick coached 66 state qualifiers, 51 state placers, 12 runner-ups, and 12 state champions. He has been named the Coach of the Year in Ohio in 1978 and 2000, and been inducted into the Ohio Wrestling Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 1992. He is a 4-time winner of the Greater Cleveland Coaches Association Coach of the Year, and recently had the wrestling room at Beechwood High School dedicated in his name. And if you want to see a wrestling room done right, go to Beechwood and take a look at that beautiful wrestling room they have. One of Domenick's recommendation letters reads, he seemed to dedicate his entire being to developing his team into skilled wrestlers who embody discipline, unbreakable determination, and team spirit. His behind-the-scenes relationship that he developed with the wrestlers and shared mutual respect set him aside from others. If you ever want to get together with Domenick and some of his former wrestlers, Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, Dunkin' Donuts on Mayfield Road. They're there religiously. They still get together. Domenick is married to Deborah and has children Lisa, Michael, Dinah, and Joseph. It's my honor to present for induction into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Ohio chapter, Domenick Iammarino.
As Jim said, the short people. You know, actually, there's a lot of wrestling coaches that are short. Who knows why? But I am honored, and it's a great pleasure to be here this afternoon. I have many thanks. The Hall of Fame committee, obviously, thank you. And Ray Anthony, Tom Evans, they advocated for me. So I appreciate that, guys. I have family here today, at the table. 2 daughters, their husbands, a couple grandchildren, and very, very good friends are here. And the word is support. 2 ladies of my life, Barbara and Debbie, are not here, but they understand, as we already heard from Larry and the other guys, what it's about to be a spouse of a wrestling coach. Up, down, high, low, they know more than anybody. And of course, we all thank them. I have a group of real good friends here. And I actually want to say each of their names. They all support me. They're right now telling me how to speak and so forth. They advocate for me. They helped out with the letters and so forth. So I do want to thank Joe Papaleo, Dave Bellissimo, Chuck Garofalo, Rich Scala, Tommy Weiss, Frank Romano, and Ryan Peters. I mean, so I really feel it was important to mention all their names because they have done so much for me. As a matter of fact, they have done so much for me that they talked me into driving a number of them down here and buying them dinner. Which we did, but that's what friends are for. That's what friends are for. There's another group, thanks, some of my old wrestlers, and we hear this theme from so far the other men, but we'll probably hear it from the others. That means so much, and I have support. They came down to support me. We all have a story of what I call the wrestling story. And I say to my friends, I'm humble. I don't want to talk about myself. But tonight, I will a bit. I want to tell you some of my story of how I'm here. It started off with, this is crazy, basketball. When I was a little guy, well, I'm still a little guy, but when I was a little elementary school, I played CYO basketball for Holy Redeemer in Collinwood. And I was actually pretty good. I made the East Side All-Star team. And then I thought I could be a basketball player. So I went to St. Joe's for 1 year. At that time, it was not VA St. Joe's, it was St. Joe's, only the boys. And I played basketball. And then I went to Collinwood in the 10th grade. That's my neighborhood school. People say, why'd you change? I thought about this. Chances are it's because I discovered girls. So I went to Collinwood, but in the 10th grade, you were absolutely ineligible if you transferred. So I was out for a year. And in 11th grade, I played basketball again. I was only a JV because we had one of the best teams in Ohio. If you check it out, East Tech, who was in the Senate, won the state title. We
played them that year a couple times. So, you know, that was okay. Now my senior year's coming, and we had a guidance counselor in our school. Not many people would know his name. His name was Harry Kessler. He was previously a coach at John Hay and Cleveland West, and they won the state championship in wrestling back in the 50s. He said to me, "Why don't you go out for wrestling?" I said, "Did I play basketball? You catch a lot of splinters in your butt. Keep playing basketball." So I went out for wrestling. 1 year in high school, and I talk about it as a regret that I have, but that's the way it was. Only 1 year of wrestling. I wish, and I tell my buddies, and they laugh at me, I said, if I started in 9th grade, I would have been a lot better. I probably would have been. But that's the story, 1 year of high school wrestling. Then I went to Kent, was on a team there, did okay, and I graduated, but I wasn't in education, I was in business. Got a job, got married that year, had a baby the first year, she's here, and it hit me. I think I want to coach wrestling and teach, but I wasn't certified. So I had two buddies at that time, John Bukky, who was outstanding referee, he passed away, Jim Bataha Vincent, and they started coaching, and like it hit me, you know, they're my friends. I want to do it too. So I went to night school with John Carroll, a couple of years, you know, I had to go to night school because I had a job, had two babies in the first 2 years, had to work, make money. So I went to night school. It took me a few years, but I got certified to teach. And Collinwood, you know, that was my school. The principal told me, "We're going to hire you." Wow, it's my dream, my school. But the man downtown had promised it to someone else, so I was out and went back to work. I didn't apply any place because I didn't get my dream job. But I put in an application at the John Carroll placement office. I didn't speak to anybody, just here's my application. Well, as luck would have it, Beechwood called John Carroll and said, "Do you have anybody in your finals that could teach business and coach wrestling?" "Oh, call this guy." I mean, that's how life goes. I mean, I lived only 8 miles from Beechwood and never heard of it back at that time. And went for an interview, gosh, I got the job. 60 years later, I'm still there. As we were saying, you know, it's relationships. We did pretty well. You know, Tom read some accolades for me, which is wonderful. We already heard it from Paul and the other guys, Jim. It's not really that. And we all want to win, produce, as we heard from Jim, the state champs and so forth, but it really is the relationships. It really is. I truly believe it. And that's really why we're here, I think. So I take pride in that, the support from those people. There's a number of them here today, and of course, Beechwood did honor me last month, as we heard, named the wrestling room. What a great honor. And there were a lot of people there. And I mean, that's what hit me. That hit me more than any state champion that I had or whatever. Okay, one more thing about my life that my children may not even know as much. I like music. It sounds crazy. Oftentimes, I sit in my chair, listen to music, listen to the lyrics. I sing. My wife yells, "Your voice is terrible, be quiet." But I do it. Example, I like Neil Diamond. And one line that I really, it hit me, is, "You found me waiting and made me your own." I mean, I look to that like for wrestling. Wrestling made me his own. People ask me, how'd you last all those years? Well, I think, again, music, Bob Seger's song, "Turn the Page." That's really the answer. Every day, turn the page. Turn the page. Then you go for 60 years. I like Kenny Rogers, too. One of his lines is, "And so I have to say, I'm just glad you came my way." And that's me in wrestling. If I had one wish, I'd want it back again. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Shawn Nelson. Shawn was a 4-time state placer, 3-time state champion in Ohio at North Royalton High School. Shawn moved on to Penn State University and won 93 collegiate matches, finishing as an All-American in 1992. Shawn was also a university freestyle champion, a Midlands finalist, 3rd-place finisher in the Big Ten. In international competition, Shawn was on a team that wrestled in China on a cultural exchange and a bronze medalist at the 1990 Sunkist International. He spent a year at Michigan State and then moved on to the University of Findlay, where he continues to coach today. At Findlay, Shawn has coached 12 national champions and 44 All-Americans. He is the winningest coach in Findlay history and has coached more national champions than any other current college coach in Ohio. He has been recognized as the Great Midwest Coach of the Year and NCAA Regional Coach of the Year. In 2019, he was inducted into the NCAA Division II Wrestling Hall of Fame. In 2020, named the Bob Budd Coaching Excellence Award winner. Shawn is married to Tammy, his daughters McKenna, Carissa, and his stepson Casey. It is my honor to present for induction into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Ohio chapter, Shawn Nelson.
I like it, they got the timer here, so I brought my phone just in case. Plus my daughter said, please don't say anything stupid. And I promise I'll try not to say anything stupid. First of all, thanks to the committee, everybody that was involved in getting me this award. I'd also like to congratulate all the other inductees. Congratulations on your accomplishments. It's funny, I didn't know where I wanted to go with this speech. You know, when you get that phone call and you say, hey, you know, you're getting inducted to the National Hall of Fame, you think a million things, a million different ways that you want to go. And I'm like, you know what, I don't really want to talk about me. I want to talk about what made me get here today and how it all started and kind of how it all come together. By the way, this is not my speech. When we took that picture of all the current and past inductees, I didn't want to go up there because 95% of them could be my dad. So I was a little bit nervous. I'm like, why am I going in and I'm so young? But everybody is like, I'm like, oh my God. So Just had to say that.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, I know. Hey, at 53, and you guys, I'm like, wow, they can be my dad.
You're
That's
not
crazy.
You're not that young.
Anyhow, basically, the reason I'm getting this award is because of the people that you surround yourself with, okay? I mean, let's face it. I am only as good as my athletes make me, my coaches surround me. So what I just want to talk about quickly was, how it all got started. It obviously starts with your mom and your dad and your family. I had a dad that was a truck driver and a mom that was almost a nun. So you can see I fluctuated from many different ways, right? Good and bad. So, but my parents were really hard on us, but they always taught us the right things. One of the things that I always remember about my mom was she's always like, hey, you better be nice to the people on the way up because you're never going to know who you're going to meet on the way down. Well, when you're growing up and you're a young punk kid, you don't think of that kind of stuff. I'm like, I'm never coming down. Well, we all come down to reality. So I'm glad that she taught me that. And my dad, one of the greatest things I remember about my dad is we sat down one time, he said, what do you want to do with your life? You ask a kid that, I don't know what I want to do with my life. He goes, I don't care if you're a thief. I don't care if you're a garbage man. He goes, but you know what? You be the best damn thief. You be the best me. And so what we choose in life, we chose to be a coach, be the best one that you can. I have an older brother that's 5 years old, 5 years older than me. He's here. And, as a little punky kid, you're always chasing him. You always want to be better. And I mean, it's not always nice about it, but I always wanted to be better than him. And so he kind of laid the foundation for me as a young kid. He wrestled at Miami, Ohio. Then I got to go to Penn State. I got to outdo him. That was it. But if it wasn't for him laying that foundation, I'm not who I am today. Okay, and then I leave, I go to Penn State, had some great coaches. I got my CYO coach, Phil Matillo, he's here somewhere. I ran into him, and, I mean, he had an impact on me early, and then you go to high school, and, Coach Oberst, who's in the Hall of Fame, impact on me. Coach Jeff Fire, when I got to Finley, that gave me the chance, okay? Well, if it was for his dad, I wouldn't have got the chance if you knew his dad that owned the pub, but so he gives me the chance. So he had, something to do with me. And then Coach Jeff Fire leaves, and then I'm 24 years old, and they say, hey, I think you should apply for the job. And I'm like, really, 25? I'm like same age as my kids. Hell, one of the guys that's back there somewhere, I think he's the same age as me that I coached, So it's kind of weird that you get that. But all of those people had a definite impact on me and what I did. Basically, it's funny. I wrote down 3 pages, and I've said nothing that's on here, just so you know. I just took it a whole different way, which is fine with me. I'm okay with that. But basically, what I'm here to say is that, I'm young, and I'm not done yet. I don't want to be done yet. Like all these other guys have said, they put so many years in. I mean, like I said, I'm 53 years old. 28 of them I've been at the University of Finley. That's over half my life. I've dedicated to that place. I don't see myself going anywhere. I mean, hell, if I get my girl's tuition remission, I'm staying. Everybody knows how much stuff costs today. That's for damn sure. So, I mean, I'm stuck. I'm staying. All right? But I think the main part is, like last night, about 15 of the guys came back, and we had just hung out in the hotel room, and I really found out what a shitty coach I was, because I guess I was really mean and did all this stuff, and I'm like, I was a good guy. But I found I really wasn't a good guy, so, but I appreciate them. So basically, I want to say thanks to all my wrestlers that showed up today to support me. I mean, out of the 12 national champs, I think I'm only missing 3 of them that did not come back and, support us. And I'm just going to say their names real quick. You don't have to worry about it, but Jamie Fosnight, Mike Conflitti, Jimmy Sanfilippo, Jason Isaacs, Dino Sanchez, Quantre Spakes, Mimo Lido, Jamie Ramirez, he didn't wrestle for me, and Matt Hammonds, Josh Weimer, James Weimer, Zach Collins, Antonio Gear, Booma Fretzko, and Dave even was at Finley 1 year too. So, all those people, I am not standing here in front of you if they didn't have some kind of impact on me. Like, we always talk about the impact that we have on our kids, but they had just as much impact on me as I hope I had on them. And so that's a really good feeling. And so I hope that continues. I still talk to guys that have graduated 25 years ago, and I want to keep that close. And then my family. Everybody knows being a wrestling coach, you don't start till the weekends, right? So the week is already tough enough, but then you're gone, you leave on a Friday night, you don't get back till a Sunday. So, and it is true, if you don't have a wife that understands the sport or really cares for it, you're probably in trouble. You're probably divorced, really. But, you know, she understands, she's got wrestling in her blood, she helps me a lot. I have 2 beautiful girls that are involved in every damn thing you can imagine, so it's pretty tough when I'm gone all the time, and my wife is always the one that's picking up the slack for me, okay? But again, if I don't have her, I'm not standing here, okay? I'm probably somewhere else. So what I want to say is to thank all the people that came to support me, and thank you for the impact that you've actually had on me. Everybody's thanking me today, but I want to thank them, because I am not me without you. Thank you.
Tom is the background.
Backdrop. Our next inductee is Dick Roche. Dick wrestled at Moorhead State from 1962 to 1965. Upon graduation, Dick served in the Army as a medic and rose to the rank of sergeant in the Airborne Division and was stationed in Germany. He returned home and began his coaching career at Mount Healthy in 1971-72, then moved to Anderson from 72 to 74 before ending up at Oak Hills from 1974 to 2000. After Dick finished coaching, he refereed until 2016. Dick accumulated 227 dual meet wins, had 31 wrestlers named first team All-City, 170 conference champions, 56 sectional champs, 22 district champs, 77 state qualifiers, and 22 state placers. He was named League Coach of the Year 4 times, Cincinnati Enquirer Coach of the Year on 4 occasions, and OHSAA Coach of the Year in 1994. He has been inducted into the Oak Hills Wrestling Hall of Fame, the Oak Hills Schools Hall of Fame, Southwest Ohio Coaches Association Hall of Fame, and the Ohio Wrestling Coaches Hall of Fame. One of Coach Roche's nominations letters reads, Coach Roche led his life through his faith, his family, and his passion to guide and mentor young student athletes and adults to become better versions of themselves. As each day goes by in my life, I continuously strive to implement what I was taught by Coach Roche and ways to live my life as he did. The day that Dick Roche passed away, he began the day in the weight room, leading by example and helping staff members and students on their physical health journey. It's my honor to present for induction into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Ohio chapter Dick Roche. Accepting on his behalf is his daughter, Amanda Beiser.
I'm a bit intimidated, I will say, and I am going to stick to the 5-minute mark. So you're welcome. That was fine. And Larry, wherever you went, I have 2 girls over here that really love Taylor Swift. Just saying. So first of all, thank you to the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Ohio chapter. We're beyond humbled to accept this award on my father's behalf. Thank you also to Eric Meyer, Joe Campolongo, Dick McCoy, Ken Houck, the Oak Hills Athletic Department, and many others for their efforts to make this possible. He would have been embarrassed, but oh so proud. Most people who knew our dad called him Dick, Coach Roche, or Mr. Roche. And even though he would disagree, he was a hero to all of us. I'm very proud of my dad. He's still the most amazing person I've ever known. It's surreal knowing that he touched the lives of so many wrestlers, but also students. He was a fantastic father, husband, coach, friend, referee, but on top of all of that, he was a kind, respectful, and fiercely loyal person. Seriously, one who could never be imitated, The way he approached coaching was the way that he approached life, with a focus, a vision, integrity, and hard work. It's no surprise to anyone that he attained great success in both. Growing up with Dick Roche as a father was pretty easy. Right from the start, he showed us how much he loved us. He never minded feeding, changing, or burping us. He never minded fixing us breakfast, lunch, or dinner. He was always there, even during wrestling season. Out of all the hats he wore, he was a teacher, though, above all things. His method was simple: teach by example. He taught all of us how to be hard workers, how to care about others, and to treat people with respect, no matter what. As a teacher, he taught adolescents how to be physically fit, and that a little competition is healthy every once in a while. As a coach, he taught young men how to wrestle, but he didn't just do it verbally. He physically showed him all the way through his coaching tenure. He got down on the mat using the wrestlers as guinea pigs. He did the same workouts that they did. He even participated in push-ups every single day. He had such grace and skill that every wrestler, no matter who their opponent was, wanted to win because Coach Roche believed in them. Personally, I will never forget our adventures together. Snow day wrestling practice were the best. My brother and I were left to our own devices in the empty hallways of Oak Hills High School. And for the wrestlers, Dad never took no for an answer. He picked up every single wrestler on his way to school in, the snow in Cincinnati, which we're not good at snow in Cincinnati. I will also never forget the crowded gymnasiums of my childhood, eager to root on our unstoppable team against a top rival. I will never forget the countless wrestling meets and tournaments, first as his #1 fan, and then later as his right-hand girl, keeping careful stats for the record book. I will never forget taking a few days off of school and being allowed to go up to the state tournament to cheer on all of our Cincinnati teams. I will never forget watching him offer advice to then my student athlete.
They had children that didn't want to wrestle, and yeah, it's difficult. But once you fall in love with the sport, that's why we're all here. It takes care of itself. So again, I'm not here tonight even close without the support of my wife. I'd like to thank my 3 sons, Brendan, Reed, and Logan. Again, they were my catalyst. I think I coached about 5 years before we began our family. And once I had my first son, I'm like, okay, I might have a wrestler here, but you never know. And all 3 of them just fell in love. They were forced, obviously, as toddlers and infants to go to the meets, and they were traveling around and on mats, and it just became a part of their life. And they fell in love with the sport, which made it easier on me, and then definitely fueled me even more to do a better job as a coach. I always felt like I was trying hard, but there's no doubt you got even more skin in the game, which affected their friends and their classmates and just continued to make our program more successful. My boys always had high expectations. They worked hard. All 3 of them were all Ohioans, college wrestlers, and now teachers and coaches. I remember back when I first started watching guys like Ray Anthony Jr. place in the state, Bill McGrain's son place in the state. I could think of so many different people in our area, and I thought, wow, how cool would that be to be a coach and have your son qualify for state? Because it's not that easy. We all know Ohio is a son of a gun. But to place top 6 back then, not even top 8 in a lot of years, quite an accomplishment. So I've been very blessed. So I want to thank my sons again for that, because again, without their commitment, I'm not sure where I'd have fell short if I'd kept working as hard, because you do go through some tough times. You have maybe a year, you have a kid get hurt, you have someone underachieve, and as coaches, it breaks your heart. Football, basketball, everything else, when you win as a team, you win. Wrestling, you might have a great district or state tournament, but there's someone inevitably that did not perform, and your heart goes out to that kid and that family. So it's never a perfect weekend, really, even when it's a great weekend. I'd like to thank my coaches. I have a couple of my coaches here tonight. Longtime assistant Nick Witter, been with me 20 years. I coached him for a couple of years in high school. He wears a lot of hats. Again, your coaching staff, they do so much behind the scenes that gets unrecognized. He recruits, he wrestles, he shows technique, he runs the weight room, he drives the camp, he goes to clinics, he's been in the national tournament with me. Just so many different things he does for our program. And my community knows it. My kids love him, my parents love him. They love our whole coaching staff. Also, I have Joe Kaikumi here tonight, who's been head coach at a couple other schools, to have his expertise in my room as a volunteer. He was actually a couple years ahead of me in high school, one of our first ever state finalists, all Ohio in football, state qualifier in track, great athlete, actually lettered a year for Ohio State. So that's the kind of people I have in the program. Then I throw in so many other coaches on and off over the years. Some moved on because of various reasons, or jobs, or families. And then my 2 oldest sons also coach with me, Brendan and Reed. And again, they're to the point now, they're young and strong where I used to be, so they do a lot more technique, a lot more wrestling with the guys before school sessions. I can't thank them enough, because again, they keep the program going forward as much as I do. My youngest son, Logan, coaches currently at West Holmes. So the whole family's continued to be involved with wrestling, which makes me feel good because there's been a lot of times it's heartbreaking, the losses, the injuries, the things not going right, known including this one. A national qualifier at Ashland, a grad assistant at Miami, then came to Wayndale. I was blessed enough to have him as a wrestling coach, which really got Wayndale on the map. 2 top 10s in the 80s, first time ever. And that just set a new bar for us. He went on to Olmsted Falls, as we know. And I lost a little bit of contact with him in college, and in my first few years, I was an assistant coach. And then when I became a head coach, I knew right away I needed to get a hold of Bill. No cell phones yet, so I had to call him on the old landline or actually make a visit up Medina Way. And just a great relationship. Bill did so much for me, has done so much for me, became one of my best friends. He's the one that got me going to the national tournament. I think I've been to about 18 years in a row now. It's a whole other avenue of learning, and I've told so many young coaches now, you've got to get to the national tournament. You've got to go and watch and learn. And Bill always said, hey, you never know who you're going to be rubbing shoulders with there. Olympians, national champs. And a quick story on that, did take my youngest son up to Olmsted Falls one year when Bill had Cale Sanderson fresh off his gold medal. I'm talking about a great family. I don't know if you've ever met any of them. I became a fan instantly. But Bill and I, at the national tournament a few years later, walking down the street, Penn State wins their first one. He gets a text. Cale Sanderson invites him to the social. I'm like, wow, we're going to Penn State social after winning the national title. We get up there, have to go through all these checking points, show a code, and we're up there. And the Sanderson family treated Bill like he was one of their alumni. And I'm like, that's the type of people I've been blessed with. That's why I'm here, because of him. Tom mentioned Jeff Jordan, one of my other mentors. Met him in about 2002, took some kids down to camp, and there's the blue-collar, work ethic, farm country. Apple Creek don't sound like a metropolis. It's not, okay? It's in the boonies. A lot of my kids are in 4-H. Some still live on farms. If they're not on farms, they've all pretty much baled hay, cleaned stalls, done all those things, as my boys have, which I think makes them well-rounded individuals. But Jeff just took us under his wing. Again, within a year or two, we became friends outside of camp and started texting. We both liked the outdoors. Our sons were all staggered. I'll never forget being in his house one night with other coaches for a pizza party. And Rocky's probably 6 years old, comes bebopping through, and hey, Rock, show the coaches what you can do. Throws him up on a pull-up bar, rips off like 9 pull-ups like an Olympian. I'm like, holy smokes, my boys are a little bit younger. You've got your boys lifting yet, Lou? I'm like, they do farm work, they bale hay, they cut wood, they do all that. He goes, you got to get them lifting. Within a week, I have them doing a little light regimen, got to worry about the growth plates, but my wife probably thought I was crazy. But it paid dividends. I mean, just from him, just that contact, that mentorship, and again, so many things throughout the year asking about conditioning and lifting, and went way beyond just taking kids to camp and having a great grinding week. And a lot of you coaches know what that camp's all about if you've been there. Kind of finishing up just real quick, like a lot of the coaches, my story, I hate to say it, I love basketball. Heard someone say up there, you tall guys shouldn't be wrestlers, but that was me as well. I love basketball all the way up. After 7th grade football, my 2 best friends were wrestlers, talked me into trying it. And really didn't have any money for shoes or anything, and my science teacher happened to be the head coach. I think he heard my first excuse, I don't have wrestling shoes. A pair of wrestling shoes on my desk like 3 days later, said Dave Pence. They were his personal shoes, gave them to me. I wore them all the way through my freshman year. Flash forward into high school, went to a couple camps, Michigan and Hampton City School of Granby Wrestling. Didn't have money for camp. 2 of my friends' families paid for my camp. And so when I became a head coach, my wife and I decided right off the bat, because we live in a rural area again, we have a lot of kids that are underneath that poverty line. We're like, no one's going to not go to camp because of money. So we started fundraisers. And to this day, we sell donuts, we sell pizzas, we sell cinnamon rolls. All the kids that were in my situation, they go to camp for free. And then a lot of my middle-of-the-road kids, they sell them and help buy gear. They say, hey, you don't need camp money. If grandma's paying, sell stuff anyhow. You can put the money towards some stuff. And because of that, we have 18 to 25 kids go to camp every year. Very proud of that. And I think that's one of the things that we've continued to be successful, because we let the kids know that wrestling is a family. And most of you have mentioned that here again. There's nothing like the wrestling family. I think the only thing I can ever equate to even your wrestlers is the military. And we know most of our kids who go to the military become squad and platoon leaders because they've had that wrestling background. So I would say wrestling has made my life, but for sure it's saved my life. And I want to thank everybody who was involved in my nomination, my induction again. Thank you so much for the Hall of Fame committee. Thank you for everything.
What Lou didn't tell you is that Apple Creek's down in Amish country. So when they're selling donuts and stuff like that, it's legit. That's the real deal. Our next inductee is Dan Ternes. If you're from Lorain County, it's just Ternes. If you ever walked into the gym, it's just Ternes this and Ternes that. Dan's a 1967 graduate of Bowling Green University, where he was a two-time placer in the MAC. Dan served as an assistant coach at Elyria in 1967. Then he moved over to Lorain Southview to establish their wrestling program in 1969. He served as the head wrestling coach until 2007, and then continued to oversee the Biddy program at Southview. The last 2 years, he has served as a volunteer assistant coach at Amherst High School. As a head coach, Dan's teams won 344 dual meets. He guided the Saints to 6 undefeated seasons, 28 conference titles, 24 sectional top 3s, 18 district top 10s, 10 top 10s in the state, with the state runner-up finish in 1993. Dan has coached 80 state qualifiers, with 7 of those wrestlers reaching the top of the podium. He's been named Coach of the Year by their conference a combined 11 times. He is a 12-time Coach of the Year in Lorain County and Division I Coach of the Year in 1993. Dan has been inducted into Lorain, Elyria, and Ohio Wrestling Hall of Fames. One of Dan's letter recommendations is written by one of his wrestling moms, and she said this: Southview Wrestling was known for 3 things during this time. The first was a sense of family. They held a reunion in 2021. 75 former wrestlers showed up and talked about how the Southview Wrestling was a surrogate family to them, and that Dan and Tom Ternes were like father figures that changed our lives. The second was the annual turkey run, where coaches would purchase turkeys, frozen turkeys, and hide them in Oakwood Park, and then turn the wrestlers loose into the park until all the turkeys were found, and the boys would take the turkeys home to their families, a tradition that we stole at our school. And the third was the hospitality room at Southview Sectional. If you were a coach or official, you didn't get the pick back then, you were hoping you got assigned to Southview, because the homemade food in the hospitality room was second to none. And I would say that Southview was known for a fourth thing: their toughness. As a young coach, we used to go to the day after Thanksgiving scrimmage at Southview, a lot of top teams there, and I took over a school that was 0 for 2 years, hadn't won a dual meet, and Dan's first words to me were, forget St. Ed's, forget Walsh Jesuit, find wins for your kids. Find places for your kids to win matches to get them confidence, and I held true to that for many, many years, and I appreciate that. I used to love to take them there when we would pull around, the bus would pull around back at Southview. Southview was a tough neighborhood, and I'm sure Dan's going to talk about that. He used to come in through the mudroom door. There's about 7 or 8 bullet holes in the door. My kids from, suburban kids from Bria said, "What's that, Coach?" I go, "That's bullet holes." Sobered him right up. Dan is married to Shirley, has children Dana and Brad. It's my honor to present for induction into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Dan Ternes.
Thanks, Don. First of all, I'd like to thank the committee and the people that nominated for me for this. Randy Green, Ray Anthony, Tom Bauer, Stacy Bohr, Brad, my son, Finley family. I might take a little different look onto this, but people say, well, how in the heck did you get into wrestling? Well, I had a big Italian coach, 1959, my gym class. He was the teacher, Frank Fiore. Maybe a lot of you remember Frank Fiore. He'd come up, I go to his gym class, and he says, "Man, you look like a wrestler." I said, "What the hell does a wrestler look like?" And he says, "Yeah, I think you ought to go up for wrestling." Well, I'm a dairy farmer. We have chores all the time. But I'd milk the cows in the morning. I said, "Okay, I'll give it a try." My brothers said, "Yeah, we'll take the chores for a while." Well, lo and behold, after that week, I go home. Of course, we have horses. I got a big stud horse, faster than hell. And my brother Tom said, "How race you?" Ain't no way he's going to beat me. We go down this quarter-mile track. and I'm beating the crap out of him. I turned, he broadsided me. Shut up, Tommy. He broadsided me, knocked me down, knocked the horse down, ended up in the hospital for 2-3 days. Well, that was my freshman year of wrestling. I didn't wrestle. I went out as a 10th grader, wrestled JV, and then I had 2 years of varsity, so-so wrestler, 2-time state qualifier and so forth. Well, after that, it's like Frank Fiore, you talk about coaches, the influence. He really changed my life. I was either going to be a dairy farmer or a welder. He said, hey, why don't you try Bowling Green? I said, what am I going to do at Bowling Green? So maybe you'd be a teacher, industrial arts teacher or something. I said, okay, I'll give it a try. We talked me into going to Bowling Green, wrestled all 4 years there, really enjoyed it. But after that, we were at a bar. I was at a bar with Frank. You know, Frank, he liked to party a little bit. He said, I got a mat maid back time when you were wrestling, Miss Shirley Gould. She broke up with her boyfriend after 7 years. I said, I remember her, beautiful girl. He said, I bet you couldn't take her out. I said, yeah, bet me. So the bet was on. 58 years later, I asked her to go to a horse show. 58 years later, she's still with me. If anybody saw Shirley at state tournaments or any tournaments, she won a lot of tournaments for me because people didn't know how to add. She's a bookkeeper, a math crazy person. She won a lot of tournaments for me. Well, after marriage and 2 years of coaching at Illyria, Frank Fiore popped up again. He said, I'm faculty manager at Lorraine Southview, brand new school. South Lorraine, didn't know anything about South Lorraine. I knew there was a lot of Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Italians, Hungarians, you name it, they were there. It was a melting pot. And he said, why don't you come down and apply for the job? I said, okay, no problem. Because I spent 2 years under Pearson at Illyria High. So I went to Southview in 1969, and I don't think I knew what I was getting myself into. First day of meetings, I had like 20, 25 kids there. I had brand new mats upstairs in the gym. And I'm going through things, what's wrestling to, because I never saw wrestling before. And I'm just about ready to finish up, and some guy said, hey, coach, where's the ropes? I said, what the hell, ropes? Yeah, we tagged to get in. Where's the ropes at? That's what we started out at Southview. That's a true story. That's what we started out with. So that was kind of the introduction to kids that had never wrestled before, and from there on. But after the first year, I went 0-10. Might have been 0-13 because I counted my tries as only one loss instead of 2. That's not in that record. But then I asked Tommy, and Tommy was coaching, Brother Tommy. Everybody knows Tommy. He's a hard ass, but I said, hey, why don't you come down and help coach? He looked and he went to one of my matches. Hell no, I'm not going to coach. Are you kidding? Look what you have. He said, I can win at Illyria. And I said, well, talked him into it. He came down the second year. We lost the first year, and we didn't lose another dual meet after that. We lost dual meets. We didn't have another losing season up until 2005 or something like that. But, thank you, Tommy. If anybody knows Tommy, he's a pretty tough kid. At Southview, like Tom said, it's a close-knit community, and it kind of made my life because the families were pulled together and enjoyed everybody so much. But my assistant coaches, I had assistant coaches for so long. Tommy, my brother, Pepe Ruiz, Wayne Jackson, Big Daddy Hamilton, Billy Kopp, Jimmy Kudrin, John McNulty, Finley family. But I had a lot more coaches than that helped out. But the big thing was, when kids finished our program, it was like, next year, they're all back. Hey, we want to help out. We want to pay back. And that was probably one of the greatest things at Southview, that we had so much paying back and family atmosphere, like he said, with the hospitality. I didn't put that on. My dad helped that, and there was a lot of family parents that did that. People will probably remember some of my state champs, which like G.T. Taylor, Robert Taylor. Robert made it here. Juggy Franklin, Billy Kopp, Russ Wilhelm was my first state champ in '77, and David Singletary. But it was kind of more than just the state champs that made my career there. It was the community, the assistant principals, administration, the teachers. Teachers would actually take it. It was a rough area. I know Chucky says that Beechwood was tougher than us, but he didn't have bullet holes in his place. But the teachers backed us all the way. They would tutor the kids, help the kids, and it was just a pleasure coaching there for the 35 or I don't know how many years I was there. It's getting way over. But I mean, that they drew in, or they tied into that and wanted to be part of it all the time. And I mean, I can go back to Lorraine now, ask anybody some help. And it's not just me, it was my coaches, the community, the people. We have a number of fans here. One of our booster presidents here, some former teachers that are back here with me. So I just to kind of finish it up, I am coaching at Amherst now with Tommy Milkovich, trying to help him out there. My grandson is there. So, but overall, it was fun, and I'll tell you what an honor to get into this association. It was just beautiful. I really appreciate it, and I hope all the others appreciate it. Thank you very much. I couldn't tell about your headlock.
Folks, as Ray said, you see envelopes on the table. Just know that this banquet is self-funding. So if you want to donate, if you know a company that wants to donate, I'm sure that the board of directors will gladly take sponsorships. Also, the applications are on the table. If you know of a deserving coach or wrestling person that should be recognized by this group, please fill that out. Please send that in. I want to thank the board of directors for their hard work that goes into this, and safe travels. I think the bar is going to be open for a little bit, and it's story time. Have a great day.